This isn't just a story about a horse and a girl. It's about the unshakable bond that transcends limitations. Discover how a rescued horse and a blind girl create a world of possibilities, proving that true companionship can conquer any challenge. The late afternoon sun, a warm, benevolent hand, painted the meadow in hues of gold and amber. Dust motes danced in the slanted rays, each a tiny, sparkling star. In the midst of this tranquil canvas stood a girl, her face tilted upwards as if listening to secrets only the breeze could tell. Her name was Lily, and her eyes, though a clear, beautiful hazel, saw not the vibrant world around her, but an inner landscape shaped by sound, touch, and scent. Her fingers, gentle yet sure, were interwoven with the coarse, dark mane of a magnificent creature, a horse, black as a starless night, whose large, liquid eyes held a history of hardship now softened by an undeniable affection. This was Shadow, a name that once hinted at his past, but now spoke of the comforting presence he cast in Lily's life. Their communion was a silent symphony, a testament to a bond forged in shared vulnerability and unconditional love. A heartwarming prelude to a story of resilience, friendship, and the profound healing power of an interspecies connection. Lily's world had been muted in one dimension since birth. Congenital blindness meant she navigated by the echoes of her footsteps, the texture of the ground beneath her feet, the subtle shifts in air currents, and the symphony of sounds that most sighted people filtered out. Life was a tapestry woven with these heightened senses, rich and detailed, but sometimes tinged with a loneliness, a yearning for a different kind of companionship. Shadow's past was equally shadowed, though by cruelty rather than a lack of sight. He was a rescue, saved from a neglectful situation where fear and hunger had been his constant companions. His ribs had once been a visible cage, his spirit nearly broken, his trust in humans a fragile, shattered thing. Their story was not just about a blind girl and a rescued horse. It was about two souls finding solace and strength in each other, a beacon of hope in a world that often overlooked the quiet power of such connections. Their first encounter was at Hope's Haven, a local animal sanctuary run by a kind, weathered woman named Sarah. Lily's parents, always seeking ways to enrich her life, had heard about the therapeutic potential of animals and decided to visit. The cacophony of the sanctuary was initially overwhelming for Lily. The barking of dogs, the meowing of cats, the bleating of goats. Her small hand clutched her father's tightly, a knot of apprehension tightening in her chest. She loved animals, the soft fur of their cat, Whiskers, the cheerful chirping of her canary, Sunny, but the sheer scale and unknown nature of the larger creatures here felt daunting. Sarah, understanding Lily's nervousness, spoke in a low, calming voice. "There's someone special I'd like you to meet, Lily. He's very gentle, but he's also a bit shy, just like you might be feeling right now." She led them toward a paddock at the far end of the sanctuary. The earthy scent of hay and horse grew stronger, mingling with the sweet aroma of clover. Lily could hear the soft thud of hooves on packed earth, a rhythmic, powerful sound that made her heart beat a little faster. "This is Shadow," Sarah said softly. "He came to us a few months ago. He's had a tough time." Lily reached out a tentative hand, her fingers trembling slightly. The air around her shifted, and she sensed a large presence drawing near. A warm, moist puff of air brushed her palm, followed by the incredibly soft, velvety touch of a muzzle. Lily gasped a small, involuntary sound. It was a sensation unlike any she'd known. The sheer size, the power held in check, the unexpected gentleness. Shadow, for his part, had been wary. Humans had meant pain, rough hands, and harsh voices. But this small human was different. Her approach was hesitant, her scent clean and unthreatening, her touch feather-light. He lowered his great head, his ears pricked forward, curious. He nudged her hand again, a soft invitation. Lily's initial apprehension began to melt like snow in spring. He's so soft," she whispered, her voice filled with wonder. She ran her hand up his nose, feeling the fine hairs, the bony structure beneath. Shadow stood perfectly still, letting her explore. He released a soft, rumbling sigh that vibrated through Lily's hand and up her arm, a sound of contentment she felt deep in her core. "He likes you," Sarah chuckled, her voice warm. Not many people get that reaction from him so quickly. In that moment, something clicked. It wasn't a conscious decision, but a deep, instinctual recognition. Lily, who navigated a world of darkness, found a unique comfort in Shadow's quiet strength. Shadow, who had known betrayal, found an unwavering gentleness in Lily's touch. Their shared vulnerability became the bedrock of their bond. Lily couldn't see his physical scars, the haunted look that sometimes still flickered in his eyes. She only felt the warmth of his breath, the steady beat of his heart when she pressed her ear to his side, the unwavering solidity of his presence. For Shadow, Lily's blindness was a blessing. Her touch was never hesitant because of his scars. Her voice never faltered at his initial skittishness. She approached him without judgment, without pity, only with an open heart. Their connection blossomed, rooted in a profound, unspoken understanding. From that day on, Lily visited Shadow almost every day. Her parents, witnessing the undeniable connection, arranged for her to have riding lessons on a placid, older pony at first, but her heart always yearned for Shadow. Sarah, seeing Lily's natural affinity and Shadow's growing trust, eventually agreed. The world, for Lily, transformed atop Shadow's back. He became her eyes, her guide, her wings. Learning to ride was a challenge, requiring immense trust and communication. Lily learned the subtle shifts in Shadow's muscles, the flick of his ears, the rhythm of his gait. He, in turn, learned to respond to her gentle leg pressure, the soft commands whispered into his mane, and even the unspoken shifts in her balance. Their rides through the meadows and wooded trails became legendary at Hope's Haven. Shadow moved with a careful, measured pace, his hooves seeming to sense every dip and root. He'd nudge Lily's knee gently if a low-hanging branch approached, or slow his pace if the terrain became uneven. For Lily, it was pure, unadulterated freedom. The wind would whip through her hair, carrying the scent of pine and damp earth. She'd laugh, a sound as bright and clear as a bell, feeling the powerful muscles working beneath her, the rhythmic sway a comforting cradle. "Faster, Shadow, faster," she'd sometimes urge, and he, sensing her exhilaration, would break into a smooth, flowing canter. It was in these moments that Lily felt truly unencumbered, as if she were soaring. She couldn't see the blur of green and brown, but she could feel the rush of air, the pounding of hooves that was the heartbeat of their shared adventure, the sheer joy of movement. They had their quiet moments too. Lily would spend hours grooming Shadow, her hands meticulously working through his thick mane and tail. She knew every contour of his body by touch, the dip in his back, the strong curve of his neck, the sensitive spot behind his ears where he loved to be scratched. She talked to him, pouring out her thoughts, her dreams, her small frustrations. Shadow would stand patiently, occasionally nuzzling her shoulder or nickering softly, a silent confidant who understood more than words could say. This companionship had a profound impact on Lily. The girl who was once hesitant and shy blossomed. Her confidence soared. Navigating the world with Shadow gave her a sense of independence she had never known. She became more outgoing, her voice surer, her laughter more frequent. Shadow was more than a horse. He was her partner, her protector, her best friend. He filled the spaces in her world with warmth, excitement, and an unwavering sense of security. Her parents watched, tears often welling in their eyes, as their daughter, once confined by her blindness, now explored the world with a courageous spirit, all thanks to a rescued horse. Shadow's own journey to Hope's Haven had been a harrowing one. He'd been discovered at a grim livestock auction, crammed into a filthy pen with several other desperate animals. He was skeletal, his coat dull and matted, deep rope burns encircling his pasterns. His eyes, wide with terror, reflected a past filled with neglect and likely abuse. Sarah had outbid a kill buyer by a mere $10, a small sum that had meant the difference between life and death for the terrified gelding. The first few weeks at the sanctuary were difficult. Shadow was deeply traumatized. He flinched at sudden movements, shied away from outstretched hands, and would often stand in the corner of his stall, head lowered, trembling. Eating was a challenge. He'd pick at his food, always wary, as if expecting it to be snatched away. Sarah and her volunteers worked patiently, offering him food from their hands, speaking in soft, reassuring tones, never forcing interaction. It was a slow, arduous process. The physical healing came first. Regular meals, clean water, and veterinary care began to mend his emaciated body. His ribs became less prominent. His coat started to regain some of its luster, and the wounds on his legs slowly healed, leaving faint scars as reminders of his past. The emotional healing, however, was a much deeper, more complex journey. It was Lily, with her unwavering gentleness and intuitive empathy, who truly reached the broken parts of him. She never approached him with expectation, only with open affection. Her blindness meant she didn't react to his nervous twitches or the fear that sometimes clouded his eyes. She'd simply sit in his stall, humming softly or telling him stories, her presence a calming balm. When she first started grooming him, he'd tense, his muscles rigid, but her touch was always light, her voice a soothing murmur. She'd find the itchy spots he couldn't reach, her fingers working magic that seemed to unravel the knots of tension in his body. He began to relax under her care, his head dropping, his eyes softening. He started to nick her a soft greeting when he heard her familiar footsteps and the tap-tap-tap of her white cane. One afternoon, Lily was sitting in his stall, leaning against his warm side, her fingers gently tracing the faint, raised lines of an old scar on his shoulder. "You were scared, weren't you, boy?" she whispered, her voice thick with an understanding that transcended species. "It's okay. You're safe now. I'm here." Shadow rested his heavy head on her lap, a profound gesture of trust. He let out a long, shuddering sigh, as if releasing a burden he'd carried for too long. In that moment, the parallel nature of their healing was starkly evident. Lily, through Shadow, found a way to see and experience the world with a newfound vibrancy and confidence. Shadow, through Lily, found a reason to trust again, to let go of his fear, and to embrace the gentle hand of kindness. Her love was the antidote to his past trauma, her consistent presence a promise of a brighter future. They were two incomplete souls who, together, found a unique wholeness. Their adventures weren't always idyllic. One late autumn afternoon, while on a familiar trail, a sudden thunderstorm rolled in with alarming speed. The sky, which Lily sensed as a shift in air pressure and a distant rumble, turned menacing. The wind howled through the trees, and fat raindrops began to lash down. Shadow, despite his growing confidence, had a deep-seated fear of loud noises, a relic of his traumatic past. The first clap of thunder, sharp and violent, made him rear slightly, his body trembling. Lily, though startled, instinctively tightened her legs and leaned forward, her hands firm but gentle on the reins. "Easy, Shadow, easy boy," she crooned, her voice striving for calm despite the tremor of fear in her own heart. "It's just the sky making noise. We're okay. I'm right here." Another crack of thunder, closer this time, and Shadow sidestepped nervously, his ears flattened. Lily could feel the panic coiling in his powerful muscles. For a moment, she felt a surge of her old fear, the vulnerability of being sightless in a chaotic situation. But then she thought of Shadow, of his fear, and her own receded. He needed her to be strong. "We're a team, remember?" she said, patting his neck, her voice gaining strength. "You trust me, and I trust you. Let's go home, Shadow." Nice and steady, she focused on her breathing, on projecting an aura of calm she didn't entirely feel. She spoke to him continuously, a soothing monologue against the roar of the storm. Miraculously, Shadow responded. The tremors beneath her lessened, his pace, though quickened, became more controlled. He picked his way through the increasingly muddy trail, guided by her voice and the familiar pressure of her legs. They arrived back at Hope's Haven, soaked to the bone, but safe. Sarah rushed out, her face etched with worry, which quickly turned to relief. As Lily slid off Shadow's wet back, her legs shaking, she buried her face in his drenched mane. "You were so brave, boy," she whispered. So brave. Shadow nudged her gently, his warm breath a comfort against her cold cheek. In that moment, their bond felt unbreakable, forged not just in sunshine and laughter, but tested and proven in the heart of storm. He had relied on her calm, and she on his strength and willingness to trust her despite his fear. Years passed. Lily grew from a girl into a young woman, her bond with Shadow deepening with each passing season. She became an advocate for animal therapy, sharing her story at local schools and community events, always with Shadow standing patiently by her side, or as close as venue logistics would allow. She spoke of the incredible intuition of animals, their capacity for love and healing, and how Shadow had not just given her mobility, but a profound sense of purpose and connection. "Shadow doesn't care that I can't see," she would often say, her hand resting on his sturdy shoulder. "He doesn't see me as Lily, the blind girl. He just sees me as Lily, his friend." He taught me that our perceived limitations don't have to define us, and that the greatest strength often comes from the gentlest of hearts. The story of Lily and Shadow became a quiet legend in their small town, a living testament to the extraordinary power of love and companionship. It highlighted how the interaction between humans and animals, particularly for individuals with disabilities or those who have experienced trauma, can be profoundly therapeutic. Animals offer a non-judgmental presence, a calming influence, and a unique form of communication that transcends words. Shadow was Lily's therapist, her guide, her confidant, and her dearest friend, all rolled into one magnificent black-coated package. He helped her develop motor skills, build confidence, reduce anxiety, and experience a joy that was pure and unadulterated. Their journey was a powerful reminder that healing is often a reciprocal process. In saving Shadow, Lily had, in many ways, saved herself from a more limited existence. In finding solace in Lily's love, Shadow had found the courage to heal from his past. Their story encouraged everyone who heard it to look for connection in unexpected places, to open their hearts to the possibility of transformative relationships, whether with humans or animals. It was a message of hope, whispered on the wind like the secrets Lily once strained to hear, now made manifest in the steady, comforting presence of her beloved horse. The sun would still set, painting the meadow in hues of gold and amber, and Lily, now a confident young woman, would still stand with Shadow, her fingers interwoven in his mane. Her world was no longer defined by what she couldn't see, but by the richness of what she could feel, hear, smell, and, most importantly, love. And Shadow, his dark eyes soft and content, would stand beside her, a steadfast guardian, a cherished friend, a testament to the enduring magic that happens when two souls, no matter how different, find their way to each other. Theirs was a silent symphony, still playing, a melody of hope for all to hear.